Nothing.
It's showtime. We're back again. Okay, it's the Brazil Expat Journal, the BJ you can trust. I am here with my friend Peter, and we're going to be your guides as we talk about life in in South America's biggest country. How are you, Peter?
Not too bad, not too bad. Actually, I was a bit late coming on the air because I think I just really fucked my freezer. But that is a problem for Tuesday, Peter, to deal with.
Oh, good Lord, good Lord. Yeah, I was telling our guests that you're usually on time. And by the way, guys, tonight we got a doozy of a show. We got a really exciting guest on, high energy guest, and his name's Watif, and we're going to be talking about coming to Brazil short term, but also more importantly, long term, and why that may be an option for some of you guys out there, and what to do to prepare and what to do when you're here. So it's going to be a really interesting show because I don't think a lot of people are thinking about moving to Brazil. What do you think, Peter? Yes or no?
Based on posts that I see in expat groups, I would say a lot of people are. But the problem is, unless you have some kind of family connection here, it's not that easy to facilitate. So a lot of people think about it, but few actually do it because they don't have the avenue to make that happen.
Well, that's where Mr. Watif comes in. So we're going to have a really good conversation with him because he works with all that type of stuff. And but before we get to the main topic of the show, I want to get a little bit of news in, but the news is really that lockdown has sort of come to sort of an end here in
We're
Sao
back in
Paulo.
emergency phase.
Yes, so I saw that you, Pete, had already taken advantage of
Yes.
this and gone to the Manifesto bar.
Yeah.
And what is the movement like in the city?
Well, it's weird, and well, I don't know if Itaimbebe is really the city, and it was on a Sunday, so it's really not a good yardstick. But I can tell you that, like in my little corner of the world in Villa Indiana, Butanta, the very first day we went back into emergency phase, it was like New Year's Eve practically. Like it was like three times the amount of people on the streets. It was a really nice weather day too, so a lot of people were sitting on the streets. Patios were open. We got that nice little pub across from my house that has the outdoor patio. So yeah, people just totally seized the day. I can't really speak for the city because IMDb on a Sunday is dead at the best of times.
Yeah, even when it's regular, it's pretty dead. It's pretty residential. But that's cool. And it was a nice day to be out. So I did see a few more folks out than usual. So that's really nice that you went and caught some local bands. And by the way, thank you everybody who watched our band play. We got about 200 views on our live at the Chaos Bar. And thank you for those who are supporting the Brazil Expat Journal. We've come back and we're kind of getting on a roll here. We've got a lot of new subscribers since we came back and started, kind of getting on a schedule. So I usually forget to say that at the beginning of the show. So thank you for subscribing. We actually got a subscriber right before the show came on. Don't forget to click that little like button, the little bell, the subscribe, all that stuff. And before we get to Watif, I just want to mention one thing real quick, which is when we're on lockdown, sometimes the best thing that you can do is explore parts of the city that are not restricted, like the open areas. So a friend of mine, Stephanie, allowed me to share some of these pictures that she took in Guarulhos, which is a city just outside the metropolitan area of Sao Paulo. And it's just the
She's the one who
hills.
was at Chaos, right?
Yes, and she's the one who was
Yeah.
on in our last broadcast, and I didn't know who it was. And she
Okay.
read me about that a little bit later. So she went up here to the highlands of Guarulhos, watched the sunset, and it looks really
Beautiful.
gorgeous, guys.
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't realize São Paulo's got a lot of green area. You see pictures of São Paulo, it's just concrete, endless jungle, but there's a lot of
Yeah.
green areas in the city, but even just in the satellite cities. And just right here, real quick, you get a nice view up there, the sunset.
Oh, it's gorgeous.
very gorgeous. So, a lot of options for you to get through lockdown. So, guys, let's get to it because I want to talk to Watif. He's a world traveler. He's he's a lot of things. I'll let him explain who he is. Let me get him on here. Watif, let me see. Is your mic on or not on? Are you there, sir?
Yep, I'm here.
Hey, Watif, how are you?
All
Thank you so
right.
much for coming on. Yeah, I've been trying to get Watif on for a while. And tell us a little bit, for those of you that don't know who you are, where you're from, how did you become a world traveler, and more importantly, how did you end up in Brazil?
Well, first, let me say I'm doing this under protest because I thought we would have the camera and everybody be able to get a look at each other.
You don't want
I
to see our faces,
know
man.
nobody wants to see our faces. I know everybody wants to see Watif's beautiful beard, and you may have seen Watif. When his video starts, he's always grooming his beard, which I love. By the way, I love his. Here, I'll give the ladies what they want real quick.
I
Watif.
should have given the lady.
Just because I like you so much. Let me see. How do I put you in the? There you go. Look, there you
There
go,
I am.
ladies. There he
There
is.
you go.
Well, thank you. Let's do this. First, thank you for having me on. I appreciate it. I love YouTube. I have my own channel. For anyone who wants to look me up, YUSEF You also
Oh,
provide
we'll do promos. Get to you. We want to know about you.
me. I was born in Niagara Falls, New York. Obviously, I'll be 44 this year. I was born in Niagara Falls, New York. I've lived in about 15 different countries. I've been in Brazil for 5 years now. I normally will go to a country and stay there for about 2 years. And when I came to Brazil, I decided to see how I felt about the country after my initial 2 years. I thought, well, this is a good possibility for me. I decided to take the entire third year and see everything I don't like about Brazil, and then weigh that against getting second citizenship in another country or doing it in Brazil. Right now, I'm a permanent resident, so I'll have a passport for this country. Brazil provides
Pete's getting his dinner. Motorcycle, I imagine. Go ahead. Go ahead.
It allows a beautiful balance of my work life. I do expat relocation services for people who want to come to Brazil legally. And fun. Brazil is an enormous country. It's bigger than the United States, depending on how you measure it. It has a huge diversity of places and things to do, everything from music to nature to this extraordinary diversity of people here. And so that's one of the reasons that I decided that Brazil was where I was going to make my new home. Now, of course, hey, there I am. Thank you. For anyone who wants to know who I am professionally, that's my LinkedIn. My LinkedIn talks about what I do professionally. It also gives people a list at the bottom of people who endorse me, who are my current and past clients, who can tell you, well, that I'm everything that I can do. And you can find me there.
Let me just backtrack a little bit. What put Brazil on your radar when because you were in China, right, before you came to Brazil? Is that right?
I was in Shanghai, China for a couple of years before Brazil. Yep.
And so what put Brazil on your radar? What made you think this is the next place?
Well, I train in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, so that was my first real exposure to anyone from Brazil. And after that, I decided, well, I want to take off there and go find out what it's like. So I did. Early in life, I put myself into a situation where I can go anywhere in the world and just decide I want to be there. I made some very good decisions early in life. And so for me, Brazil I hadn't lived in Latin America or South America. A lot of my friends thought I was going to bunker down in Asia because I spent 7 or 8 years in Asia, from Thailand to Malaysia, Singapore, Japan, China. And a lot of people thought that I was going to just stay in Asia, and I decided to make another quick about face. I lived in Europe for a while, and Australia and London. I decided to make a quick jump to South America, to Brazil, and there you go.
All right, we got Pete back on. Watif, you said you had this whole thing about staying 2 years. and then moving on, staying 2 years, moving on. So what made you really think I want to stay here? What drew you to Brazil after you got here? That made you decide, hey, I'm going to stick around a little bit longer. Because I remember when I first met you, you were on that vibe too, of I'm only going to stay here for a little bit, which I believed at the time. But then something changed. What was it?
The weather is a big part of it. I was born in a place cold all the Niagara Falls, New York is just a cold place. I mean, we have a couple of months of summer, but what we would consider a warm summer day would be considered like violently cold here in Sao Paulo. The food, the atmosphere, my ability to really put a big effort into becoming part of the fabric of the community. I started to interact more with the other expats. Then I was asked to run Black Expats in Brazil, which is a great social organization where we do a lot of things in the community, making sure that a lot of the expats get out and actually take part in the community and not just go to work and go home. Hey, blackexpatsinbrazil.com. Thank you.
Although we got all the links, guys, as usual. All the links will be in the description of the video. And for those that follow the show already, you know that I always timestamp everything and put links the day after, so it'll all be there. Don't worry, Watif. I'm just
You put a lot of
extra slide showing as you speak.
You're time stamping everything. That takes a lot of work, doesn't it?
Not as much as you think. You get used to it after a while. It takes me about like 30 minutes to timestamp a whole podcast.
I can see that because I do a lot of stuff online and people think it takes a long time, but it really, if it becomes a system, if you got a system.
Yeah, it's got a system, and then you kind of have an idea of how long you stay on a topic. So usually I'll jump 5 minute to 5 minute to 5 minute, and then I'll say, okay, he's talking about something else. So then I have to backtrack a minute or two. But anyway, so the thing that was interesting for me, as far as your expat journey, is exactly at the start, that you traveled around the world and then you decided to stay here, because that's what we're going to be talking about tonight, guys, is possibly staying in Brazil. And we'll get into the details of what you do, Watif, to allow people to come here and settle here. But it starts at this seed, which is you actually saying, hey, I think I'm going to stay here. So when people are considering coming down, having this expat life, why would you say Brazil is a good destination?
If you are someone who first, one of the things that the things that have happened around the world have taught us, especially not being able to move around as much as we used to. If you are in a situation where suddenly you're working from your computer, we have so many people who were told by their companies, no, we'll never let you work from home. You would just be lazy. Now, all of a sudden, everyone has to work from home.
And we're busier. That's the thing. We're not lazy. We're busier.
For people who are entrepreneurs like me, I run several different businesses that I can run from my computer. Brazil is an excellent place because if you have the discipline to maintain your business life during the day, you simply have an abundance of diverse things to do in places like Sao Paulo, Brazil at night, or even a short airplane ride away. So for me, Brazil also, particularly Sao Paulo, is my first love. Sao Paulo, Brazil is a place where you can have access to the best food, entertainment the world has to offer, without question, all accessible. I tell people you can have a day where, maybe I meet Phil and Peter for breakfast and we have a good old fashioned, toast and coffee. Then we can go to the Museum of Art Sao Paulo and look at an exhibit there that's got painting from, Brazilians who make paints with, natural herbs. Then we can go to lunch and have Japanese food by a Japanese chef. Then in the afternoon, maybe we'll go to the Afro-Brazil Museum in Ibirapuera Park, which is an amazing park. How big is Ibirapuera? Ibirapuera
It's big. It's one of the 5 biggest parks in the world. I think it's like on the same level as Hyde Park in London.
In London. I've been to Hyde Park in London. And now here's the difference. Hyde Park in London, and of course we also have to look at places in the United States, but the thing about Ibirapuera Park is full of stuff. It has, I think, 3 different...
Yeah.
It's got 3 symphony halls, 4 museums. The entire park itself, you can use a walking or running or bicycle track. Any given day, you can walk through the park and see people doing literally anything. from hanging out with their dog to
Being arrested. Being arrested. Actually, the first time I went to a Bureau Park, I saw the cops beat the shit out of these two teenagers. One of them was a girl, actually. She was like 16 years old. And yeah, this like male cop totally punched her in the face with a closed fist.
Yeah, Ibirapuera gets rough after hours. I've been shot at Ibirapuera.
Well, first of all, when you say after hours, why were you out in the place? Like, why aren't you just going places when they're open? Because at night, you shouldn't even be in there.
Oh, that's a story for another
podcast. We can't get into that.
That's for the Renee podcast.
What I don't want people to do is take your stories and take those as canon, because I tell people all the time, I'm a square. I follow the rules, and life has been good. When you go places when they're open, and then when they say we're closed, you don't go in at night. Amazing how I don't have any bad stories about that place. It's awesome.
Well, technically, Ibirapuera is open 24 hours, so you can go there, and you do see people jogging. No, it's open. It's open. You see people jogging and running in the middle of the night there. So it's technically open. I don't recommend it.
Yeah. This is the size, people. It's 158 hectares. Which is, I think a hectare is like a football field. So
yeah, I put 390 acres. That's what I found. But it's a nice park to go to. It's a great place to go to. But no, Watif makes a great point, though. The city is full of stuff to do, from the vanilla to the not so vanilla, and then you just kind of.
And I'm kind of curious about that too, because I was off the broadcast when Watif was talking about his time in China. I lived in China for 5 years, and I have to say I didn't get where you lived. Where did you live in China, Watif?
Shanghai.
Oh, Shanghai. Okay. Yeah, not my favorite city in the country. I lived in Beijing, so it's it's like Sao Paulo versus Rio, or New York versus LA. It's like you're one or the other, and I was a Beijing guy. But I thought Beijing actually had all that to offer too. What does Sao Paulo offer that Shanghai? Because I mean, I'm biased, but Shanghai is also a great city. What does Sao Paulo offer that Shanghai didn't?
It's not that Sao Paulo offered more or less. It was different. You have to remember, I'm not going to tell people there is this direct comparison between different cities. What I'm saying is different points in your life and different goals you may have, different cities may be appropriate for it.
Does the weather come in for that?
We got to remember, Shanghai, it got cold, but not kind of cold where I was used to. It was rainy, but not like the kind of things I was used to. So for me, the weather wasn't necessarily great, but it wasn't like earth-shattering. The weather does dictate a lot, because here in Sao Paulo, you always have the option of, do you want to go out to do something? Do you want to have that coffee on the street? Do you want to go have, that new restaurant where we may sit outside and have our fruit?
This is true. The weather here, I mean, I've been here about 11 years, and we had 1 year that had a little bit of frost. We got frost on the window. And when you do have the intolerable days, they only last for about a week. There will at least be 1, maybe 2 weeks of intolerably cold weather down here in Sao Paulo, or intolerably hot weather down here in Sao Paulo. But then it's over, and then you go on with life.
Well, I have one thick, heavily stuffed blanket, and it's a little purchase. I use it for about 5 days a year, where I can throw that on and then fold it back up again.
That's pretty much what I do. And guys, one thing you got to understand about Brazil, those that are thinking of coming down from colder areas, it's, you get this idea, it's a tropical country. Brazil's right on the border of the tropic of, is it Capricorn down here? Or is it Cancer? I always get those two mixed up. But it's right on the border of what is supposed to be tropical weather. So you do get your cold days. And also it's a kind of a humid cold. So it affects your body differently. So although
we don't have indoor heating. That's
no indoor heating.
No indoor heating, no insulation.
No insulation. So your house can turn into an ice box real quick. And I felt cold or like uncomfortably cold. I felt more here in Brazil than I have ever in my whole life in the US. And we had those, 3 feet of snowstorms before, but the houses and the clothes, everything's kind of made for that. Whereas here in Brazil, it isn't. And we'll actually get into that, Watif, because later on I want to ask you about what people should bring when they come down here. But I want to first ask you, what did you study up on, about Brazil before you came here, and where did you study up on Brazil before coming here?
I can tell people, I get that question a lot, particularly from potential clients. The single smartest thing you can do to prepare for Brazil is to get something like Pimsleur. I'm a big advocate of Pimsleur, and get conversational. Pimsleur has 5 levels of Brazilian Portuguese that are 30 days each. If you simply get to level 3, 1, 2, 3, you can get off your airplane and actually have a reasonable, not lost conversation. The biggest indicator as to whether or not someone's going to enjoy their time in Brazil or not is when they get here, if they've taken the time to study how to simply become conversational. I say Pimsleur because it's consistently a quality place. It's better than something like, what's the one where you have on your phone you can write?
Duolingo?
Huh?
Duolingo?
Duolingo is great for reading and writing, but reading and writing isn't what you're going to need immediately. You're going to need to be able to speak to people.
Can you spell that for me so I can put that up on the screen? It's Pimsleur?
No. It's Pimsleur.
Pimsleur. I know.
Where's your mind?
Well, yeah, a lot of bad places. All right, go ahead. I'm just going to put that on the screen while you're talking.
I don't know. It's Pimsle.
No, I got it already. I'm just going to put it up here. But go ahead.
Yeah. And so the Pimsleur is an app you can download on your phone or on your computer. It's completely talking. Totally talking. It's call and response. It builds on memory. It's a great system. But it only works if you do it. You have to be someone who's willing to take that hour a day, and I say do every lesson twice, because it's a 30-minute lesson. Do every lesson twice, and over the next 60 to 90 days, you'll find a big difference in your being able to understand and communicate. I know people that take years to study if they can transfer their business here. They take years to find out how they're going to start a business here, but they won't take that 3 months to learn how to do the fundamentals of a language.
Yeah, and that's what I was going to kind of break it all down to, is learn the language, or at least learn survival language. Don't come here without knowing basic Portuguese. It's going to help you a lot, especially in a city like São Paulo, which is so big, and in a country like Brazil, where there aren't that many people that speak English. You may be able to get away with it by hanging out in your expat communities, but at some point you want to branch out, and to branch out, you got to know the language. So language is one that you'd say is, and did you start with this before you came down or after you got down here, Watif?
Well, almost as soon as I arrived, I was able to do it.
Okay, cool. And anything else that you did to prepare? Did you read up on, politics, the geography, whatever? I don't know.
I interacted heavily with the expat community before I arrived. I talked to people who had been living here already. I found out, what is their everyday life like? Not someone who is looking at it through the lens of a magazine or a government official. I wanted to talk to people who led the life. What is your everyday like? How do you get back and forth from work? What do you do in the evening? What are the best options for this and that? Little things like that. That's the biggest thing.
That's great advice. And I think all of us, Pete, you're in a few expat groups, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I actually
not at ease, but most of the others.
Yeah, no, I actually help run one, and it's very helpful, guys. I jumped into the expat groups late because when I came to Brazil, there wasn't even Facebook, so I had just had to kind of learn on my own how to figure stuff out down here. But man, oh man, like how my life changed once I found the expat communities through these expat groups. And they can really help you as a support and just help you navigate. So even before you come down, actually, Watif has a great expat group, the Black Expats Brazil. Am I saying that correctly?
Black expats in Brazil.
Yes. So there's that one, which obviously by the title, it's more concerned with people of Afro descent who are coming down here, but there are regular groups too with, that have every type of membership. And you just got to search that out and do as much research as possible. I will ask Watif this because I know I've spoken to Pete about this at length because he lived in China. China may not. Did you think China was an easy country to deal with? Like, how would you compare it to Brazil? Because I know for a lot of people, Brazil is not an easy country to kind of get a hang of, like real quick. How would you compare
The
it?
difference between Brazil and China is that China is a country where everything is scripted and everything is, not just from the government leads the dance. And so the way things are done is everything is scripted. There's not a lot of variation from a theme. Whereas in Sao Paulo or Brazil in general, you have the option of charting your own course for better or for worse. So for people who need more structure, like I always advocate for the first time abroad, going to a place, getting a job in Japan or China, they keep you on safety wheels. Then when for places like Brazil, you have to be mature enough to say, I have to figure out my own path because I have access to anything I want to do here.
Yeah, I would agree with that. The one advantage to that structure, though, is that as long as you're contributing something to the country, it's very easy to stay in China legally indefinitely. Brazil does not really have that option unless you have some kind of family connection here.
Oh, I disagree. And I'll tell you why. I disagree because, well, first, it's what I do professionally. One of the things that a lot of people don't. Oh, hey, there we are on Instagram. Follow us. One of the things that we've learned doing this professionally is that there are quite a few options for someone who wants to be in Brazil that don't involve having to have a relative here or even getting married if you have a professional working with you. The thing about Asia in general, and we'll be specific about China, Peter, is there is no path to citizenship in a place like China.
No.
You will never be. Now here, there's a lot of paperwork involved, right? There's a lot of time involved, but I have absolutely taken people from the airplane to getting their permanency here.
Yeah, and this is why we wanted you on the show to tell us about that path.
Yeah, we're gonna get it. We're gonna get there. We're gonna get there. But we're getting to Brazil slowly. First, what got you down here, differences. But now I want to know, Watif, any advice or any tips that you would give to somebody as far as what to bring to Brazil and what to leave behind. Okay, if you're coming down to Brazil, what are those essential items that you should really bring down here because you may not find them, and stuff that you really just say goodbye to?
Bring your passport. Don't bring anything else. One of the things that a lot of people have a hard time with is that understanding that here you can get a different version of anything that you want, but there's no reason to bring your microwave or your computer, or bring your computer. Bring your best computer and phone from home because it's cheaper buying it someplace else. Great.
Yeah.
I agree with that. That's the only thing I was gonna say. More than the passport, bring some electronics like that because it's expensive.
You treat yourself to a new computer or a new laptop, and treat yourself to a new phone, a new Android phone. I'll make that clarification. When you're doing things, that require information being sent back and forth and different applications, Android phones are simply built to be malleable.
Right.
And there are easier fixes down here than Apple products, guys. There's, I think, Watif, one Apple store in Sao Paulo, or is it two?
One, and we have some sub-affiliates, but it's just one.
Yeah, so if your Apple product goes to Beleléu, as they say here in Portuguese, just goes to shit, it's kind of a difficult fix, and it'll be way more expensive. Actually, in fact, one of our friends, Watif, Jeffrey, he's been my go-to from Washington to Brazil as far as getting my iPad fixed. I was like, I'm just not getting my iPad fixed down here in Brazil. So he takes it
Yeah.
with him, gets it done, and I'm happy with that. So leave everything behind, folks. Bring your passport and a good computer. And why? Why do you say this?
Because people behave as if coming to Sao Paulo, Brazil is they take their cues from what Brazil is like from the same media sources that tell them that the hobbies of black men include raping white women and using drugs. They're not giving you a fair and balanced. Why do I not trust news sources as much as getting into the communities and finding out whether expats? Because you find out, lo and behold, it's just like any other city. You know, Sao Paulo, Brazil. I'm running a YouTube channel from high-speed internet on anything, just like anything else. You know, I have an apartment that could be an apartment in any other place in the world. What a lot of people don't understand is they'll say, well, you know, I've had clients tell me, not because they're being mean or disrespectful, but because they simply don't know. They'll say things to me like, can I buy a phone cord there? Well, yeah, everybody has a phone, but they might not know that. Or do they have Wi-Fi there? Yes. But again, if what they've been watching was someone who goes to the poorest, most desolate place in Brazil, finds the poorest people they can find to do what's called poverty porn, so they can smile and say, look, I'm giving a homeless child a bottle of water. Well, their views are very skewed.
Yeah. Yeah, I lived in Thailand as well, and I used to hear the same questions, like, do they have Wi-Fi in Thailand? And this was in 2010. This is like in a time when not everyone had Wi-Fi, and I was like, I live in the middle of the fucking jungle, dudes, and I got Wi-Fi. So in Sao Paulo, you would think people would understand that, but they don't. Although I have to say the Wi-Fi in Sao Paulo is not that great.
Well, that is true. The internet's up and down. It depends on the region. But Watif makes a great point, and that's why I like having this platform to be able to talk to expats all over Brazil, not just São Paulo. We've had guys on from all over the place. Is that the marketing for Brazil is that it's Cidade de Deus, City of God. It's soccer and carnival, and the Amazon, of course. And those of you who have been listening know that I was born here, and I went to the U.S. when I was about 5 or 6, and I have a very clear memory of, I think it was third or fourth grade, a little kid asking me if I lived in a tree. Because that's, yeah, I didn't hate them, for it, but that's just the image that they have of Brazil. That's all they got is the Amazon, and this was back in the 80s. So imagine there was no internet, there was nothing. There was literally Captain Planet, and the little boy was from Brazil, and he had a pet
I
monkey.
forgot about that.
He lived, he lived in a tree. So then I had to just tell him, no, I actually lived in an apartment, and he couldn't believe me, because I did grow up, for the little bit that I was here, it was in Sao Paulo. But even for me, when I came back to Brazil, because I had such disconnection to this country growing up in the U.S., it was a shock to me, when I got to Faria Lima, that was in Avenida Paulista for the first time, and be like, oh my God, it's very modern. It's like
Very
being
first
in
world.
the very first world, very much like Philadelphia, where I spent a lot of time. So that's a great thing that you say. Is and it goes back to the first point you made, Watif, which is go in these expat groups, find out what real life is down here. Don't just go by the movies or the media, because that's not telling the whole story. It's not even telling half the story. So that's a great point that you made. Now, Watif, once you're down here, so say you get down here, and then this is where I want you to talk a little bit also about your relocation services and how you can get people down here. But once you're down here, money options, job options, how do you get yourself off the ground? How do you get started making some cash down here and living your life?
Bring your job with you. If you're coming from, let's say, the United States, where I'm from, don't come here to find a job. Bring your job with you. Whatever it is that you do in the United States, find a way to do it here.
Yeah, we're all looking at Sid's comments.
Yeah, sorry guys,
I
put
think he
that on.
left a word out there. I think he means how I shouldn't move there, but far be it from me to second guess him. He can correct he can correct himself if he's so inclined.
Yeah. And that's the thing, just to talk about what Sid said, is one of the things that I often tell people is when they say, hey, I read that there's a lot of racism in Brazil. And then I say, hey, I read there's a lot of racism in the United States. Or, hey, I read there's a lot of racism in the UK where you're from. One of the things I always explain to people, particularly Black people, is stop looking for a world where there is no racism and start looking for a place where you can say, I can live independently of whether or not white America or white Brazil or white UK accepts me. Choose to be your own person. Choose to find your own career path. Bring your job with you. Create your own job. Do those things that are necessary to no longer be so dependent on the system. I don't care if that means working a job you hate for a year, but at the same time, taking classes online about how to learn drop shipping or internet marketing. Find a way out of that system.
I like that, and thank you for bringing it back. I clicked the show button by mistake in the middle of of your explanation about how, how to make money down here, but you kind of brought it back even with Sid's comments, and we can talk a little bit about some perceptions of Brazil from the outside, if you're a person of color, if you're a woman, a little bit later. But I want you to go back to what you're saying. So bring your job with you. What do you mean by that?
Whatever you do in the United States, find a way to do it in Brazil. Approach your job and say, hey, what's it going to take for me to be able to do this on the internet? Now, odds are you're at home anyway. Odds are your job has already done it. I've helped some people figure out how to use a VPN, get on an airplane. Their jobs don't even know they haven't been home in a year. Mm-hmm. And by the time the job finds out, they're going to have to say, well, wait a minute, you've already been doing such a good job. Maybe we should just leave you there.
And that's a great option, not just for mobility purposes, because maybe one day you want to leave Brazil and you can go elsewhere and take your job with you, but money. You're gonna get that dollar, that euro, which is going to be much stronger than the real. But what about for people that don't have that option for whatever reason?
They don't have the option of what?
Taking their job with them. Yeah, say they work in a factory, they work as a medical waitress, whatever. A job that it is not going to let them easily just say, I'm going to become a digital nomad now.
Then you have to take the time to learn a career, take the time in the evening. I don't care if you work 12 hours a day, then you have to work for yourself for another 4 hours at night. Invest in yourself, invest the time that allows you to have something that allows you to go around the world with it. It's not easy. Not everyone's going to make it. The level of personal responsibility and discipline it takes to have the life you want is not a common thing.
Right. I agree with that 100%.
This is true, guys. And that's where Watif is coming from a different perspective than most other expats who may come down here. And again, this is not shooting down other expats who come down here as spouses, as just travelers, and they stay and maybe they teach English like a whole lot of them do. But it's a different perspective. It's a way to pre-plan before you come down, bring all of the knowledge, all of the finance, all of this stuff down with you so that you're able to have a freer time in the country that you're in. And
yeah. And can I
go ahead?
I want to jump in here a bit because I've been connected to Watif via Facebook for a few years now, and I've been following his posts, and a lot of them are very inspirational and whatnot. But I remember one post he made a couple years ago about the money that you need to live in Brazil, and I remember actually disagreeing with it a bit. But I was wondering if he could perhaps share his thoughts on exactly what you need to live in, say, a month in Brazil, because I found his post on that subject really fascinating.
Okay, well, let me do this then. I'm going to put something up here, and hopefully we can share it. Let's see. You'll have to give this permission to share because you are head of the host. The host. Where'd it go? There we go. Can you share that? Okay. So here's what I tell my clients consistently. If you come to Brazil and you're able to earn $250 a month, let's say, a week per se, and you have 1,000 US dollars, okay, that 1,000 US dollars, and if we can blank sit out so they can see the rest of what we wrote there, if you can take that 1,000 US dollars and have that per month in America, you would still be a homeless person living under a bridge fighting for a dirty blanket. In Brazil, that multiplier effect goes to 5,500, let's say. Now you can take 2,000 of that to live in a decent apartment in a nice area, and then you can take that other 3,000. Your bills for gas, electricity, all those, that won't come to more than 150 per month. The rest of it is what you eat. Now, I'm not telling you you're going to have some out of control wild lifestyle on that, but what you can do without question is live well on that. And a lot of people don't really know that. They don't understand that you can have a higher quality of life in Brazil on $1,000 per month than you can in the United States on $3,000 per month.
Exactly.
That is true. Like 1,000, that's what, 5,000 RMB,
5,000
AIs.
At the
5,000
moment.
AIs. Yeah. Yeah, 5,000 is good, man. 5,000 is actually really good.
No, you can do well with 5,000 here. I mean, we've had times where the dollar was more like 1 to 3, but right now at 1 to 5, it's, you can definitely, like Watif said, you're not going to be maybe traveling every, holiday or whatever, but you can live a reasonably decent life off of 5,000 reais, which is $1,000, and that goes into that prepping that Watif was talking about. Getting yourself hooked up, and it's not as difficult as it seems. Especially if you're already, if you're still in your country, to hook up with some type of digital job, even if it's a teaching job, guys. I know plenty of people who do teaching online and earn in dollars. There's a lot of these internet companies via like Teach in China, Teach in Thailand, and
Preply
even
is really good too.
what is it?
Preply, it's a teacher-student
Preply.
matchmaking service.
I just found out about Preply tonight off of somebody's post, but she got kind of upset with a comment I made on it. But yes, I just found out about that just tonight. Yeah, so there's a lot of apps that can connect you. Because I know teaching is definitely one of the big go-to gigs down here. In fact, we had a guest on a couple shows ago from Canada who was really sweet, and she's doing her thing down here teaching. But there are ways that you can bring that dollar, that euro, whatever that home currency is that's stronger than the real at the moment, down to Brazil, which segues into something now, which is, Watif, when I met you, you were just teaching, as far as I know. Maybe you were doing some other stuff, but you've definitely visibly expanded into so many other things since you've been down here. So can you take us a little bit through the process of expanding into other businesses since you've been here?
When you met me, I ostensibly was a teacher, but I've always had several other businesses. I'm of the belief, I came from a financial background where I learned from some of my clients who I would teach how to put their money away in places where they didn't have to pay taxes on it legally. They would teach me how money behaves in some of the objects of gold you should have. So once I put myself in a situation where I can earn money in several different ways while I'm still young and strong, I want to earn money every way possible. Also, it gave me a great way to network with businessmen and women here in Sao Paulo. So I've always had my cryptocurrency things that I've done. I've always had I have a copy editing, and proofreading service for people who need things done in university level English. Then I went on to expand. I started doing it privately, just helping my friends get their life straightened out legally in Brazil. And then I decided to start doing that professionally. And that's where I am now.
Cool. And right now, the thing that really piqued my interest as far as all your business ventures is this relocation services. So, guys, if you see there on the screen, I got a screenshot of his of Watif's LinkedIn page, which is all linked in the description of the video. So later, you have many different ways to contact Watif. But tell us a little bit about this venture, because for me, this is something that's more recent, as far as all the stuff that you've been doing?
The expat relocation services business, here's what I do. I have a staff that is all bilingual Brazilians, meaning they speak their Portuguese and English fluently. When someone calls me or emails me or drops a message to me, and they say, hey, I want to come to Brazil, can you help me? And there's always a couple of extra words. Everyone has their different story. The first thing I do is I ask my staff to call them and go through an intake form with them. That intake form then allows me to find out if they're what I would call eligible, if their situation is something that I can translate into them being here. Then we sit down and talk to them about what their situation is. Are they alone? Do they have children? Have they been here before? Are they here on a tourist visa and left? What their situation is. Then we find out what documents they have already, what documents they may need, and what documents we should tell them to bring with them so that by the time they get here, it's easier to do.
And how long is that process, more or less?
And what are those documents?
Oh, that again, I wish I could tell you there's a cookie cutter answer. There aren't. I would have to speak to you as an individual client and find out exactly what you need.
Okay.
Yeah, some of them, you actually had them on the page here. Why am I not seeing? Oh, there it goes. See more. So I'm on your page. So some of the documents that you may need, okay, in that Watif can help you with CNPJ, which you need if you want to start a small business here. The MEI is also for small businesses. So your CPF, which is your registration number.
Well, can I ask you to scroll down? You're at the wrong part.
Okay, but let me just get through some of these because folks don't know all the documents that you need down here. There's a lot. Your piece, if you want to work down here, your piece is similar to a kind of like a fund, right? Like a not your retirement fund, but there is money that goes into your piece. Can you just explain what is this CRNM?
But Phil, you're giving them the things that I have, not the things that I provide. That's why I asked you to scroll down. You're in the wrong section.
Okay.
I know one thing that's really important here is your original birth certificate. It can't be a copy.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Right
they
here?
need one that has like your mother's maiden name on it, your parents' names. Because I don't know how it is in the US, but in Canada, like if you just get like a garden variety birth certificate copy, it doesn't actually contain your parents' names on it. You need the one that has your parents' full names and your mother's maiden name. They're really picky about that.
Yes, this is I've experienced it. Is this the spot right here, Watif?
Yes.
Okay, there we go. So there we go. Now we got a list. So we got visa and residency permanency applications. Okay, you got your processing for Brazilian documents for tax paying, CPF, the CNPJ, CRNM, National Immigration Identification. Now that's why I don't know what that is because I didn't have to deal with that. Okay, and CTPS, which is the work document, because down here in Brazil you do need a little workbook. SUS, National Healthcare Registration. English document translations, apostille, long-term and short-term apartment housing finding, which is really important. Arranging your cell phone account, internet services, securing Brazilian banking, debit and credit cards, planning your timetable and agenda in Brazil, and Brazilian Portuguese language training. And guys, seems like a lot of stuff, and maybe those that don't know Watif are like, who the hell is this guy, right? How does he know all this? He's vetted. Check out his LinkedIn page. I'll, vet him myself. I'll put whatever reputation.
I might actually hire him.
I don't know how good my reputation is to put it on the line, but I'll put my reputation on the line and say that Watif is the real deal.
I might actually hire him because I've been here 7 years and I have none of this stuff.
There you go. And you can see all his recommendations down here on his LinkedIn page. He's worked with a lot of folks that I know who give him high marks for all of this stuff. He knows what he's doing. He's very, very meticulous, okay, as far as getting stuff done. He's the first guest that I had to email to to let him know.
You act like I was just being a jerk. I was like, okay, we need to put this on my calendar, and you're like, what do you mean? I said, well, don't you schedule things according to your calendar? And you're like, no.
Not
Yeah, I
really.
don't either, dude. I write shit down on with pen and paper. I still own a compass, man. I do shit the old-fashioned way.
Yeah, Pete's ancient, Watif. Don't listen to him. He's ancient. He's more ancient. No, oh, I think you guys are about the same age.
No, I think I'm 4 years older than Watif.
Okay,
I
yeah.
am 44 this year.
Yeah, I'm actually. Oh my god, I'm gonna be 49 this year.
Oh Lord. Yeah, so he's still.
Yeah, pushing 50, pushing 50.
Pete's using an abacus. I'm not on that level. But I'm almost there.
A compass, not an
Compass.
abacus.
Okay, to get around. So you get all of these things with Watif, and he's gonna get you what you need for sure. And then other stuff that Watif does down here, which I find interesting, is the black expats in Brazil. And tell us what the impetus was for that. Let me
The
put
Black
that on the
Expat
screen.
in Brazil group was originally run by a different friend. It was more of a social group, and when my friend left the country, I was asked to really take it over and bring it, kind of make it a bit larger, make sure we started doing things outdoors, and I really fashioned it into what it is now, being a group where we can share information readily, a group where we can find people whose life experience are similar to our own to get quality information from.
I got it. Was it an offshoot of Browns in Brazil?
No.
Okay, because I know there was that group before this one. Oh, very cool. Yeah, and we'll touch on a little bit of what Sid was talking about. If you're coming down here and you're a person of color, do you feel that there's any, challenges, anything different that, they would people of color would have to watch out for if they're coming to Brazil? Watif?
Well, let's make sure we're both on the same page, brother Phil. I'm not a person of color. I'm a black person. I'm a black American. Person of color is a very wide, obtuse word. I'm very, very specific. We
Well,
are
I'm
black.
being very wide. Being very wide, but not obtuse. I mean person of color because people they identify themselves differently. So from light skin black to dark skin black, what issues or what things would they have to watch out for if they're coming down here?
Well, let's make sure. Let's redefine our words then. Let's make sure we're on the same page. Would a black man from Mumbai find the same pluses and minuses that I would as a black man from America? Would a black man, so as a black person, I'm specifically identifying black descendant of slaves from the United States or from the UK continent. I'm being very specific. One of the things I learned that made me very successful in business very young is I'm very specific about what I can't do and how I identify my services.
Okay, so a person of color from America.
But again, a person of color from America, I have Cherokee friends who are darker than I am. We're not talking about people of color, and that's a word that, we went from people of color, and then it was colored people. I like to say that. It's okay for me. We are black people.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. And like Sophie Zhao won the Oscar the other day, and they referred to her as like the first female person of color to win the Best Director Oscar. But she's not black; she's Asian. So there is a palpable difference.
I agree and disagree. But if you want to play the semantics, let's say black person. A black person coming to Brazil, what issues do you think that they would have to deal with that's a little bit different?
I think the first issue they'll have to deal with is that you are in a situation where even though the majority of people in this country are black, you are still graded more heavily on your education and income. The majority of my Brazilian clients are white Brazilians. And one of the most interesting things is there's always eventually a conversation where they begin talking about black people. And I always have to kind of look in the mirror for a second and look at my phone and look at my own face. But I'm black. And they say, well, no, not you. You're educated and bilingual and you travel the world, because they associate being black with poverty, lack of education, and a lack of opportunity, regardless of what your skin color was. And one of the games I find that, I'm sorry, was someone saying something? I couldn't quite.
No,
I think that was just Phil agreeing with you.
Oh, okay. And one of the things that I would find more often than not is they would always try to blow a smokescreen around it. And also, I believe it might try to convince themselves that they aren't doing business with Black people, or somehow the fact that I was from the United States made me less Black than someone born in the country they were born in. So one of the things that a lot of Black Americans have to deal with is that we are still, if you are a Black American who comes to Brazil, or a Black person from the UK who comes to Brazil, you are holding hands with a group of people who I'm proud to say are still fighting fights that we managed to overcome 40, 50 years ago, and they're having to do it today. So you really do have to get used to understanding they're at a different stage in the struggle that we are.
Very true. Very true. And I think that goes into why I'm using I understand your point for as far as Black, but why I'm using a broader term, person of color, because those issues, they trickle down to people of all different shades who identify differently. And even if they are, let's say, of Middle Eastern descent, dark-skinned person from the Middle East, or even, like as Pete said, of Asian descent, people of darker
No,
skin.
well, let's do this then. Let's use the examples that you just gave. Let's take someone of
Mhm.
Middle Eastern descent. Someone of Middle Eastern descent in any place in the United States, Brazil, or the UK did not come
Yes.
there as a product of chattel slavery. His life experience, no matter how much poverty-stricken he may have been, he came with a mother, a father, an uncle, an aunt, people who could form a community with him. So our life experiences, the life experiences of our fathers, our grandfathers, and our great-grandfathers are nothing alike. That is why we have to be specific.
Well, okay, I don't want to debate that whole point, but I get what you're saying. I'm trying, but I am trying to be broader. I am trying to be broader on purpose because of how Brazilians see people. And that's something that we talk a lot about in expat groups is what are Brazilians' visions of the world? It's sometimes very limiting. And they're not going to think about what certain people's heritage is as far as how they came to what part of the world. And they may not see sometimes a Black person from England, a Black person from a country in Africa, or a dark-skinned person from a Middle Eastern or a Far Eastern country as any different. They're not going to go deeper than just looking at, okay, this is not a white European, so I may treat them differently because of that. So it's something that you do consider when you come down here and that you deal with. And, Brazil is very much divided on that race and also social class line. And obviously, Black folks from the United States who have that history, they bring that with them. They bring that culture and those memories with them. But for a Brazilian, I feel sometimes it's very limiting, and that goes even Pete, our token white guy in the expat chat here.
Actually, that's not true. We had a white person on last week.
Oh yes, we did, from Canada. Canada was taking over
Yeah,
the
2 weeks ago, actually. But
2 weeks
yeah,
in a row we got Canadians. But that even goes into how Brazilians see Europeans. And I have plenty of European friends who get really upset with that it's so limiting here. And a lot of it has to do with education, lack of just experience leaving the country,
but
where
that's changing though.
it's
Brazilians are
changing,
getting
Pete.
out there a lot
But
more
how
now.
many times have you been called a German? You're not alone.
Never, never. I'm
Never.
a redhead
Okay.
man.
'Cause I have a lot of white, blonde-haired, blue-eyed friends they're all German. So Brazil is a little bit limited in that, and I think that's important for people that come down here to know and just to be able to work around it. So that's why I'm choosing to use a broader term as far as people of a different complexion, because for a Brazilian, it may not matter. It doesn't matter if you identify as
Well,
Black
that was
American.
the original question. The original premise was, how do I talk to Black people who come here and tell them what I know of the experience here? So I can tell you what it's like through the Black expats in Brazil lens or my client's lens, but I would never be so arrogant as to say this is how a Brazilian person will see you because I didn't live that experience. So my job is
Right.
to give them correct information on how they will view things, not how people will view them. It is not the responsibility of Black people to monitor or police how other people see them. We have to look at how we behave and how we see the rest of the world. Become our own central point of origin.
I agree with that, but I think it's also good to know what you're up against.
I don't think there's anything anywhere else in the world. If you are a Black American who has survived America, there is no place you will go that will be more difficult. It's not going to happen.
I got you.
Wow.
And expanding out though, now speaking just folks in general, is there anything that expats should worry about, down here in Brazil as far as safety, politics? Politics. We may be seeing another impeachment in the. I've been here for 11 years. Two impeachments already. The up and downs of politics, the ups and downs with economics of the country. What are things that expats should just have their little spidey sense out for when they're down here?
Well, let's talk financial safety, which is, my bread and butter. I'm a huge advocate of cryptocurrency and Bitcoin. I have been in cryptocurrency and Bitcoin for 8 or 9 years. I believe that everyone should understand how to manipulate and manage on a fundamental level their own cryptocurrency so that no matter where you are, your money is safe. I don't trust any banking institution regardless of whose country of origin it is. Do I use banks? Absolutely. Do I trust them? No. Do I have insurance against them? Absolutely. As far as physical safety, I would say use the same physical safety precaution in Sao Paulo, Brazil, than you would in New York or LA. Do I think you should walk out of a train station 10 o'clock at night on your phone, blabbing to your friends, walking across the dark park? Of course not. That's nuts.
Uh-huh.
But you get people who go to another country and they firmly believe, well, there might not be any bad people here. No, you'll get your phone snatched here too.
It's happened.
Use the same level of discipline you would in the United States or any place else and say, hey, I'm not going to go to this party that when I Google this place, it doesn't even show up on Google Maps. It's way out in the middle of nowhere. I don't have any options with friends that are going to come with me, and I'm going to be around the people in a language that I'm not fluent in. No, stick to the well-known downtown, bright lights, big city areas. Unless you have a comfortable enough relationship with someone where they can say, hey, my family, we're having a barbecue on Saturday. Now, that's okay. That's awesome.
Right. Yeah, I got spoiled. I mean, coming from Canada and then living in China, Beijing is like the safest major city in the world. And I just, like, my defenses got so down that when I first came here, I was walked all over for, I think, my first 2 years. It's like the first time it's like, oh, it was just an isolated incident. But yeah, it took me a while to wise up to the fact that it's dangerous here. If you are not paying attention. If you pay attention, then yeah, it's no problem. But that's a learned behavior. It's not something that a lot of people are used to.
I agree with that, and you got to wise up quick when you get to Brazil. So I would say, I do agree with the advice of, be smart. It's like being in any major city, except that, it is a doubling effect down here where you got to keep your spidey sense up all the time, and if you let it down for a second, you may get jacked or something may happen to you.
It is like that. It is. You got eyes in the back of your head. You start to feel comfortable, and you let it down for like 1 second, and that's when it happens.
Exactly. Yeah, it's a weird feeling, and you get used to it here. It's like it becomes like this outer shell. And I traveled to Europe in, I think, 2015, and I spent 2 weeks there, and it was so relaxing. I was having such a good time because you let your guard down there, and I came back, and yeah, it's one of the few times I've been robbed. It was like I came back. It was like 3 days. No, the next day actually, I was crossing the street down here close to my house, because I guess my mind was still like, oh, I'm in Paris, France. No, you're not. You're back in Sao Paulo. So it does get to be stressful a little bit. I will say that's kind of a negative thing, but it's not like you see in the movies where you walk out of your house and somebody's going to have a gun up to your head. It's not like that, folks, but you do have to keep your wits about you.
No, normally muggings don't actually happen like that. Muggings usually are somebody asking you for like $5 because they think that like nobody is actually going to start a fight over $5. I will. I will totally start a fight over $5. But yeah, that's what muggings are like. Your muggers do not come to you as like creeps lunging from the shadows. They generally approach you as friends. And then, like, once they feel like they've gained your trust, they'll get you someplace isolated and say, like, give me some money. Not all your money, but give me something.
Get you enough. Watif, how has Brazil changed you from the time you first got here to now? I talk to so many expats who give these great testimonials about the how spiritually it's changed them, how they've gotten bolder. There's a whole bunch of different ways that Brazil has changed so many different people. What could you say for yourself that Brazil has changed you in some way?
Brazil has given me the opportunity to expand my entrepreneurial side in a way that I don't think any other country would. And I'm not talking about the money and the cost of living. I'm saying being in Brazil, you're in a country where there are so many other people who are constantly looking at a way, how can I make my own money? Clients
Yeah.
that work for major companies are always saying, how can I make my own money? Because here people have a fundamental reliance on self because the government was never going to be there for you.
Mm-hmm.
The lesson that I have to teach a lot of people who come from the United States. Don't believe. I always ask them, "Can you give me an example of that halcyon period where the government was there for you all the time?" And they can't. But, it's awful.
I got you. And on a human level, how has it changed you? Have you become nicer? Have you become tougher? Have you, what can you say has changed in that aspect?
I'm the same guy I was.
I disagree, Watif. I disagree. I think you've become kinder since the first time I met you. Not that you weren't kind when I first met you, but I think Brazil seeps into you whether you want it to or not. And it's the flexibility of Brazil, the ability to chill of Brazil. Like when I first met you, you're very intense. You still are, but you have softer edges now than you did 5 years ago. I think that's a little bit of Brazil effect.
Or it could
But
be that
that's
you're just used to me now.
that I'm what?
You're just used to me now.
No, I mean I don't see you that much, so I don't think so. No,
Yeah,
I
but
think
previous to the quarantine, we saw each other, just socially quite a bit.
I don't know. Give yourself some credit, Watif. And I'm not the only person who said that. I'm not going to name names, but a lot of people that thought that you were a bit too much 5 years ago have said, no, Watif's definitely got softer edges now. And I think that's the Brazil effect because Brazil is as crazy as the country is. It's also got those round edges. It's round edges, but it just is what it is, and it gets into you one way or another. So give yourself some credit. That's a good thing. But here we go. Here we go, Watif. What do I mean by here we go? This is what I mean by here we
So,
go.
are we doing the expat challenge?
Oh yeah. We can't let
Now,
Watif go without the expat challenge.
yeah,
Okay. And
well,
what is this?
Wait. First of all, where'd you get that music from? Did somebody keep that little keyboard you got when you were 9 that had only 8 keys and there were all those digital sounds? That sounds like something like. Where'd you get that music?
it's a Nintendo core.
It is, man. I'm
Wow.
old. Anyway, anyway. Now, Watif, lightning round, as lightning as we can be. I'm gonna just ask you some questions about Brazil. Give the first answer that pops into your mind. Penalty of Watif's entire business reputation being crumbled, guys, if he fucks up this quiz. Okay, so we're gonna have to take back everything that we've said about him, including the soft edges part, if he screws up on this quiz. So the first question, I don't know if Pete, if you have the questions or not,
I
is not a
have the
problem.
questions up. Yes.
Oh, really?
You go.
Cool.
Yeah,
Look
you
at
go.
Pete
You go with odds.
prepared
I'll
for
go
the
with evens.
podcast. Look at that.
I am. Yeah.
Is it me first or you first?
You go with the odds. I'll take the evens.
All right, here we go. Watif, what's the best thing about Brazil?
Vaca Atolada.
What is that?
What the hell?
Oh, vaca tolada. It's a
Yeah.
food.
Oh, okay.
Can you describe what that is for folks that don't know?
Ooh, Ooh. It's
While
a
you're
beef.
describing, I'm gonna put it up on the screen here. 1 second.
It's,
Sorry
it's
about
it's
that.
made with ribs, garlic, onion, tomato, cassava, chili. It's marinated and the sauce is really thick. It's
There it
really
is.
thick.
Mmm. That looks tasty. It's like a stew.
Yeah, yeah.
All right.
We'll have to
Nice.
go. One of my favorite restaurants. That's what they have. We'll have to go there, hang out.
Oh, for sure. Now things are opening back up. I'm trying to eat now. I'm trying to go everywhere and eat. Go ahead, Pete.
All right. Yes. What is the worst thing about Brazil?
The subway system is too small.
Oh, really? Wow.
It
I
is.
actually love.
Yeah.
I like the subway system here, actually, but okay.
I love the subway system down here too. I think it's way nicer than anything in the city of Philadelphia, but like Watif said, it's too small. It was built for the city from the 1970s, 1980s, and they just
Right.
forgot to expand on it. But I remember when I first got down here and my friend took me to the metro there on Consolação for the first time. I was like, what the hell is this? It was gorgeous, it was clean. It's beautiful compared to SEPTA in Philadelphia. It's nasty, but I can get anywhere in Philadelphia. I can get anywhere in New York. I can get anywhere in most major cities on their subway system. Not so much in Brazil. So I get what Watif's saying.
Yeah, we've all done the Pinheiros transfer.
Well, you kind of answered this question already with your first one, Watif. But what's your favorite Brazilian food? Maybe you have a different answer. Who knows?
Yeah. I gotta think that. I mean, I love eating bacalhau. I have to really think about that because I think I already answered it.
You got a second favorite food? What's your go-to
You
when
did.
the Bacatolada
You
place
answered
is
it.
closed?
How about this? Fresh juice.
Oh yeah,
That's
you're
a good answer. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's a really
my
good answer.
favorite food is probably fresh juice.
Fresh
All right.
Brazilian juice. Brazil's got some
That's a
really
good
good
one.
juice. Watif, bonus. Give us a good juice bar in São Paulo.
Oh, let me pull the name of it for you. There is a good juice bar named Fruteria. It's on. I can give everybody the address. It's Rua Minas Gerais 316. And it's just an outdoor juice bar. They used to be 24 hours a day beforehand. I don't know if they still are.
Oh, the one in right by, yeah, we've been there a bunch of times.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. This is right close to Avenida Paulista, guys, walking distance from the metro station. Real nice place to have some juice. I like that. Go ahead, Peter.
Yeah. What is your least favorite Brazilian food?
What is the name of that soup that's made with almost all fat? One of my friends convinced me was awesome. Oh, it's.
Are you thinking of habada?
I think so, but oh my goodness, I couldn't.
Oxtail soup is what they call it in English. I
Yeah,
still haven't tried it, but I keep meaning to.
what if Michael Alfred is asking about acai? You're an acai guy, aren't you? Because you. Or no?
I eat acai. I drink acai. Yeah.
Yeah, acai is awesome.
Oh, I don't like it.
Oh, really? I get it
Yeah.
like twice a month.
I don't know about this soup that he's talking about.
I think it's habada. But I'm
But
not
habada
sure
is just the
'cause I haven't had it.
oxtail stew. I've had that before. I mean, it's
Well,
not
I mean, you
that
could say feijoada is all fat, but I would assume that Watif knows feijoada and
bad. Yeah.
would
Yeah.
identify it by a name. So it's not feijoada.
Anyway, we'll let him figure that out, and we'll come back if he can remember. Now, again, Watif's doing like the time travel thing because he keeps answering future questions before I get to them. Because my next question is, what is your favorite Brazilian drink?
Oh, wow. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I don't even think I could kind of think of another one, and I can't.
The juice. Yeah, the juices are so good. You got a favorite juice? You got a favorite fruit combo?
Ooh, no, abacaxi com hortelão.
Ah,
That's a
which
good one.
is the pineapple with mint, which is
Yeah.
popular here. Yes. Go ahead, Pete.
Yes. What is the best place you have visited?
Probably Ibirapuera.
Oh, wow. Nice.
It's a wonderful park. Wonderful park. It's a little too crowded during the weekends, but if you can manage to get there on a weekday, it's really nice. And what about most overrated location or thing in Brazil?
Oh, yeah, well, let me think. I would probably say coxinha.
Wait, can you repeat that? Because you cut out.
Coxinhas.
Coxinhas. Watif's all about the
Mm.
food, man. But all right, I totally agree. Do you like coxinhas, Pete?
Yeah, they're good breakfast food, actually. I live near the university bakery. So it's literally like 30 seconds for me to run out the door and grab a
Oh,
cochina.
wait. Michael Alfred, he did say, I forgot, one of my favorite things in Brazil are the before Carnival. I always tell people the best part about Carnival is 3 months before.
Uh-huh.
Because that's when you get to see all the practices, and that's when you get to see all the samba schools, and that's when you get to see the ensayo de quadra,
Mm-hmm.
and
Right.
that's probably my favorite thing to do. Yeah.
Yeah, I enjoyed doing that a couple years ago. Actually, we went, right? We went to the Villa Matilde one,
Yeah.
the technical rehearsal. And yeah, that was my first year actually doing it, and it was a lot of fun. It was more fun than actually the whole carnival thing, but definitely that. And by the way, guys, what is a coxinha? It's just kind of dumpling filled with meat inside, and it's a very, very popular Brazilian
It is
uh,
heavy
fest.
and
Yeah,
It's
it is heavy. I actually went to a Koshina festival in 2016
goddamn.
where they had a 1 kilogram Koshina. You should have seen that. I wish I'd taken a picture. I didn't have a camera or phone at the time, but the thing was a monstrosity, man. It was like bigger than my son when he was 5 years old.
Goddamn. Yeah, I quit coxinhas. I did it for like about a year, and I was like, I can't eat this crap. Now, go ahead. It's on you, Peter.
Yes.
We're almost
The
there.
best place to chill in Sao Paulo.
anywhere on Avenida Paulista.
I agree. I'm
Especially on
more
a
of a
Sunday.
Republica man, but
Say that again, Pete.
I'm more of a Republica man. And Hagabu,
Oh,
the dirty, scummy city center.
yeah,
But
yeah.
yeah, I can totally dig Paulista as an answer.
Yeah, and guys, on Sundays, traffic is closed off. Car traffic is closed off, so you can walk down Avenida Paulista. They have bands, they have music, they have a whole bunch of stuff going on, and it's
They
very,
used,
very, very nice. Well, yeah, I mean, since the pandemic, I'm not sure. I haven't.
I
No,
think
I've
it's
been there on
coming
a
back though.
Sunday. No, it's still
I think
closed.
it's
I've been there
coming
on a
back.
Sunday with a buddy of mine. It's still closed off, but it's not like it was before. Hopefully, that'll change
Right.
soon. And Watif, two more questions here. Favorite Brazilian musician or band?
Man, because I listen to so much like old bossa nova that I don't even know their names anymore. But I would say, can I go with genre and just say bossa nova?
Yeah, that works.
Pastéis da Nata. Carol, by the way, shout out to Carol who was gracious enough to have me on her channel. And she's a real sweet expat living in Nicaragua, black expat. And she's asking if they have pastéis de nata there. And I've actually never had this pastéis de nata. Have you had this before, Watif or Pete? But
It's
I've never
egg
seen it in
custard
Brazil.
inside. I've had it. It's not good or bad to me. It just is.
But do they have this here in Brazil? I've never seen it.
Yes, they do.
Okay, I've never had it. So there you go. Oh, look at this. Michael is saying everyone is shy to say how much they love Brazilian women. Oh, there's no shyness. Oh,
Yeah,
you're Mexico.
yeah.
She's not from Mexico. Yeah, there's no shyness here, Michael. We're just being gentlemen at the moment, but usually, for the
Yeah,
sake
that
of
topic will
Watif,
come up at some point in the future.
yes, you know, um, last podcast, Pete and I were talking about supporting our prostitutes, during the pandemic because they're going through very rough times right now. So, definitely nobody has any shyness about that. And to close it off,
Yes, one word of advice for future visitors to the country.
I think I've probably been doing that time travel thing again. Focus on getting
Yeah,
conversation language. It's not a big. It's not hard. It's not hard to take 3 months and just take a few hours a week. 5 hours a week. Just really focus on something like, Pimsleur and learn how to be conversational.
that's really good
yeah,
advice. Yeah.
it is good advice. Not anything that I have actually followed during my 7 years here, but yeah, if I had, things probably would have been a little easier.
Pete, I have to agree with that. Now, guys, what I want to do here, real quick, is this right here. It's run down all the different places where you can reach Watif. And if you want to comment on it at the end there, Watif, of course you should. Um, but first is his LinkedIn. LinkedIn, sorry. Yusef Wateef Thornton, Expat Relocation Services at the PEER Circle, the Peer Circle. And you can also find him on the web at blackexpatsinbrazil.com. And again, all of these are linked in the comments, or not, sorry, in the description of the video. And he also has a Black Expats in Brazil Facebook page. Since you hadn't given me the link to that, so I wasn't sure if you wanted me to share that or not, but it's definitely out there, guys. There's Black Expats in Brazil on Instagram. And then we got his YouTube channel, Yusef Wateef. And he's puts out videos like almost every day, it feels like. So there's a lot of content there. And then you got his personal page, Yusef Wateef. And I like his personal page out of all of them because you just get Wateef being silly. And that's the thing with Wateef, is that he's got this tough looking guy demeanor, but he's like a nerd. He's a geek, he's into
Hey, oh, he's an
Thundercats.
X-Men fan, man.
Yes, he's a
I
total.
can't not like an X-Men fan.
Exactly. So he's got a goofy side to him that it comes out on his personal page, which I crack up with some of your videos. So so yeah, there's a bunch of different ways that you can contact him. Very friendly guy, very attentive guy, and very much willing to help, which is also very, very important when it comes
And
to. Go ahead.
yeah, no, that brings me to something. Is Watif runs this business where he brings people from outside the country into the country. I'm curious, does he provide services for people who already live here and maybe fucked? I'm asking for a friend, of course.
Shoot. It's like I said in the beginning, I wish I could give you a cookie cutter answer. Whoever this friend is, have him call. Have him
Okay.
call what I can do.
Yeah, we'll talk soon, man.
No, your friend will talk to him soon, Peter. Get your
Yeah.
story
Yeah.
straight. Your Canadian
Yeah.
friend. Okay,
Yeah.
we'll talk to him soon. All right, Latif, thank you so much for coming on. You got any last words? Any stuff you want to say?
Hey, everybody, say hello. Find me somewhere online.
Yes, find him, guys. The dude lives online. It's incredible. Like well, actually, I don't wish because I'm doing some other stuff, but his energy and his dedication to what he does is incredible, and it's why you're successful at it. Okay,
And
and
he's
there you
so
go.
positive too, man.
And he's
Like
got look at us. We're all coming on to you, Watif, and he's got such a cute beard, girls. Look at his beard. Do your little your trademark the beard shaving. Whenever he starts his video, you always see like the little comb over the beard. But anyway, guys, we're messing with Watif, but he's a good dude. And That's it. Okay, everyone that joined in, I want to thank you for
Yes, so much. Thanks for listening, people. It's a
listening,
pleasure.
supporting the channel. Hopefully we get some good information out there to you guys that are considering coming to Brazil. We talk in bullshit about our life down here, and thank you to all the new subscribers, people commenting, people that watch after. Everybody, much love to you, and have a great evening, day, wherever you may be. Adios, amigos.
All right. Cheers, people.